Hello everyone, welcome to Revenge with Harlan, where we listen and share thought-provoking stories. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a new episode. And now, let's get started. What will the hungry hunt for if they forget the keeper of the fire? The question crossed Noah Calder's mind as the termination slip slid across the glass table, leaving a faint trail like smoke. The 10th floor conference room of Aurora Meridian still smelled of polished wood and the light brown scent of espresso. On the other side, Caleb Whitmore, a vice president of sales who had been on the job for nearly 5.5 months, nodded politely, as if signing for a package, not cutting off nearly a decade of his life. The company needs hungrier talent, ready to launch into new targets, Caleb said. His voice was smooth, the timbre of expensive management seminars, each sentence polished. Noah Calder, 47, looked at the paper, not with anger, just a thin, cold light, like late winter in St. Louis. He smiled, thanked the opportunity, and stood. The chair didn't creak. Through the glass, Mississippi shimmered in the sun. Noah left the conference room carrying a compact cardboard box, a few family photos, a cup his daughter colored in, and a thin stack of paper. Phone numbers and personal notes, something he always carried alongside the company database, a habit he'd developed from his youth when he didn't fully trust systems. Down the hall, Valerie from accounting looked up. "Are you moving?" Noah laughed. "Something like that." The elevator opened. Marcus Everly, the CEO, stood inside, his eyes glued to his phone screen. He looked up at Noah as if through a window, seeing, but not seeing. Noah wondered when Marcus would understand that the cord that had just been cut wasn't the cord that tied an employee to a job, but the cord that brought revenue into the company, about 38% of last year's total, though no one had said the number aloud until Caleb came and showed it on a slide. The elevator doors closed. Noah saw his reflection in the stainless steel. Curious about his own feelings, he was surprised to find no waves, just calm, like a lake after a wind had passed. The signs were as thin as dust. On the drive home, he turned off the radio. Silence enveloped the cabin like a thick blanket. He recalled the signs. 3 weeks after Caleb took the job, the commission structure was adjusted, cut 18% to align with new standards, even though his numbers were as regular as a train on time. Noah's desk was pushed into a corner. For convenience, his name was absent from the meeting schedule. Nora, his assistant through the seasons, was reassigned to special projects. Sophie Lane, 29, was brought in as a study companion for a meeting with Graham Tulliver, a major client of 6.5 years. No explanation, no apology. Graham texted after the call. "Who's the new girl? Are you training your successor?" Noah joked. But on the way home that day, a cold streak fell into his stomach. He'd read hundreds of faces in conference rooms. His intuition was rarely wrong. The garage door slid open, the house empty. His wife, Elena, was in Boulder with her sister for a few days, taking care of the new baby. Noah put the carton on the stove, poured some bourbon. Not bitter, just warm. His personal phone buzzed. Graham Tulliver, a text confirming dinner next week to discuss the extension. Graham didn't know yet. No one knew. Noah set the phone down by the sink, looked out the window, the trees stripped bare of leaves, and a pale blue sky. He opened his laptop, quickly scanned his old employment contract, a 9-month non-compete clause. Only applied if he left voluntarily, not if he was fired. A window opened in his mind, not a window of revenge, just a clean path. That night, he slept without setting an alarm for the first time in years. The next morning, he made only 3 calls. No preamble, no complaints. "Graham, I haven't been at Aurora Meridian since yesterday. I wanted you to hear from me." The other line was as quiet as someone dropping a glass on the carpet. "What? Who's in charge of our account now? Noah breathed evenly. It could be Caleb or Sophie. The rest is up to you. Same with James Henderson, Peter Carville. 3 calls were like the first 3 notes of a new melody, almost subdued. By noon, his phone was a beehive. By afternoon, a voicemail from Marcus Everly. Noah, we need to talk about the transition. Many customers are nervous. Noah didn't call back. He went to the law office of Lawrence Finch, who had asked him to help finance his son-in-law's restaurant. They can't stop you, Lawrence closed the folder, but they will scare your customers. Be prepared. At exactly 4:15, Aurora sent an email, confidentiality reminder. At 5, Caleb texted, let's discuss severance package, maybe open consulting. At 5:35, Graham called. They promised continuity of service, leaving Sophie in charge, and 8% off if you renew now. What did you say? Noah asked. I said I'd think about it. Graham paused, then continued, his voice pulling up a chair. I just sent notice of termination under the change of relationship management clause. James and Peter did it too. Noah didn't say anything. No need. In this business, trust follows people. That night, 3 other companies from Noah's portfolio sent similar notices. By morning, 8 in total. The $3.1 million annual revenue figure, estimated, flew out of Aurora like steam. 2. Ink in the dark unknown. Phone call, Michael Grant from Kensington and Hale. The smaller rival company was respected for its hands-on approach. I hear you're busy. A mutual friend praised you. Noah smiled. I'm listening. Senior Vice President, 6-figure signing bonus, full account management, executive committee seat. Start tomorrow, okay? Noah agreed, not because he was in a hurry, but because it was right. A true people over numbers type. In the afternoon, Caleb texted again. The board approved the retention package, 6-month salary, some stock. Client transition assistance. Noah didn't reply. 9 years and 10 months for them to learn how to put the right price on a person. Late. The first week at Kensington and Hale, Nora called on her personal number. You need to know this. It's not just Caleb who wants his people. Northbridge Capital set a condition 2 months ago. Put key account managers on a centralized team, cut off from the individuals. Noah paused. It was like hearing a door creak open in another room. How do you know? I'm still in charge of the executive floor calendar. Northbridge withdrew their offer yesterday. They don't buy unless they keep a human face after every deal. The pieces were coming together. Caleb wasn't there to grow. He was there to package people into assets, push Noah out before the customers were labeled in a commodity line. Noah called Graham. Have they brought anyone from Northbridge to see you? Graham breathed. There's Thomas, who calls himself a strategic advisor. He asked us about future needs. Confirmed. Noah called around to the big accounts again. The same script. Shadows standing by the logo, asking, writing, smiling, when Noah was still on Aurora's payroll. At night, Elena video calls from Boulder. The kitchen light shines on her cheekbones. I heard Nora, she whispers. You? Noah looks at his son's harmonica hanging on the wall. He's practicing for a school performance next month. Last year, he missed it because of a flight delay and a meeting. I'm fine, he says. I think sometimes losing is making room. Elena smiles gently. As long as you don't leave yourself empty. 3. Curiosity, the invisible thread that connects people. Kensington and Hale is as different from Aurora as room music is from EDM. Less colored lights, more small rooms for deep conversation. Michael Grant doesn't ask, how many contracts? He asks, how many families eat from the work we do? How many engineers don't have to work overtime because the process runs smoothly? Noah is curious about his own work. like opening a box he thought he knew by heart. He does two things: listen and count. Not just sales, but response times, implementation steps, and repeat failures. He and two young analysts toiled into the night, collecting data for 6 weeks since the old customers switched to K&H. The numbers spoke softly. Response times down 51%, implementation costs down 28%, satisfaction scores up 21 points. No fireworks, just lean numbers. Curiosity is a good spark. Noah went to each customer. "I want to know if we've taken some of the load off your shoulders." At Lockfield Manufacturing, the old boss, Ray Lockfield, said, "You know my son's name. You texted him congratulations on his college acceptance. Not many people do that. I don't need 8% off. I need people." One Thursday afternoon, Sophie Lane sent an email from her personal address. "I was laid off along with a few others. If K&H has a position, I'd like to apply." Noah read it once, then added a short note to HR. "Worth interviewing. Not her fault." People shouldn't be pigeonholed by the system's failures. For touching. When people remember each other's names. In the second month, the Midwest Financial Services Conference sent an invitation to Noah to speak on the panel, Building Customer Loyalty in the Trading Market. The room was large, carpeted, and lit with yellow lights. Noah didn't bring the 100 flowers bloom slides, just the numbered board he and his team had made. Feedback, costs, satisfaction. When it was his turn, he spoke as if describing a family meal. In an age of digital everything, there is one thing that is undervalued: personal responsibility. Customers don't sign a contract with a logo. They put their trust in a person. If an organization treats a relationship keeper as a replaceable part, the customer will prove you wrong with a termination letter. He didn't mention Aurora by name. There was no need. Marcus Everly, sitting in the back of the room, knew whose examples those were. In the middle row, Graham Tulliver raised his head, his eyes smiling. Yes. During the Q&A, a young analyst stood up. "Do you think that customers following you when you leave the company is what companies fear when they give autonomy to relationship managers?" Noah nodded, replying slowly. "I think they worry about the wrong things. They should worry about whether their culture is big enough to accommodate people who carry promises. If you give autonomy without trust and fair structures, autonomy is just a gimmick." The room was quiet. No applause, just a few people taking notes. After the panel, 5 companies lined up to shake hands. 3 of them had been Aurora guests, asking for LOIs on the spot, an estimated $2.5 million in annual revenue. Noah went home early that night. His son asked to listen to the harmonica. He played the slurred notes. He patiently gave some breathing tips. Don't push the notes. You support them. When his son tried again, the high notes hitting the right notes, Noah felt his eyes sting. How many times had he been absent? How many times had he missed practice to chase a goal that seemed like everything? Dad will be there. Really? Really? Elena stood in the doorway, leaning on his shoulder, smiling at the two of them. That smile, Noah had forgotten in the conference room lights. Emotions. What was returned? 3 weeks after the conference, Aurora sent out a press release. Restructuring, Caleb Whitmore. Looking for new opportunities. Messages poured into Noah's phone. Old company in chaos. Northbridge ends negotiations. Aurora stock fell a total of 10% in 5 days, 10% at the beginning of the week, another 7% at the end of the week. Noah closed his laptop. Not happy, just calm. One afternoon, the receptionist brought up an envelope. Inside was a handwritten note from Marcus Everly. "You're right. I put the transaction before the relationship. We'll pay. If you're willing to have coffee, I'd like to apologize." Noah folded the paper, and put it in his pocket. Maybe someday. Not today. When Kensington and Hale announced its new quarter, the slide behind Noah read $8.1 million in new revenue, about 68% of which came from clients who had accompanied him. Michael Grant raised his glass. The best deal we didn't have to buy a company. Everyone laughed. Noah just smiled. This wasn't a victory to celebrate, but a trust restored. "We have to share," Noah said at the next meeting. "Nobody builds a house on this land and gets fired." A profit-sharing model for relationship managers was adopted. Transparent, long-term. Those who keep their word got a piece of the spoils, something Noah wished he had at Aurora, but now he could give to someone else. Sophie Lane joined K&H as an account manager, having gone through 3 rounds of interviews. The first morning, she arrived early, placing a smudged piece of paper on Noah's desk. "I wrote the application the night I was fired. My hand was shaking, my handwriting was bad. And yet you still sent me to HR." Noah shook his head. "You just repositioned a person on their map." 6. Cause and effect, the fast-teaching market. 6 months after the paper slid across the glass table, Noah stood before his team in K&H's largest conference room. Behind him, the screen read, "Quarterly results." The numbers weren't flashy, but they were bold. Onboarding was down 27%. Unprocessed tickets were down 44%. Cancellations were down to almost 0. Everyone stood up and applauded, not wildly, but warmly. The phone rang. Breaking news. Aurora Meridian announces CEO change. Marcus Everly steps down. Noah pocketed the phone. Some victories don't require an audience. In the afternoon, Nora forwarded him an email from Sophie to the entire team. Yesterday, a customer called the hotline at 9:47 p.m. The on-call team responded within 4 minutes, proactively proposing a solution. This morning, a customer sent cakes to the office. Cakes are not important. What is important is that we are present. Noah read, feeling his heart sink as if someone had placed a blanket on his shoulders. This job, after all, is about presence. Noah drove home, passing the old headquarters. The Aurora sign was being lowered. A crane was lifting it. A few people were watching. He did not take pictures, did not slow down. At the intersection, the red light, a group of students carrying musical instruments crossed the street, including a boy holding a harmonica in a cloth bag. Noah smiled. Some songs had to be played with their lungs, not with business cards. 7. 1 year. The new agreement. Exactly 1 year since that day, the day the glass table was cold and the paper had a smudge, Noah signed the partnership contract at K&H. The company had grown 31% since he arrived. His own client list had hit $19.2 million in annual revenue. Elena entered the room and set 2 cups of coffee on the table. "Signed?" "Signed." "Aren't you happy?" Elena narrowed her eyes. Noah stroked the rim of his cup. "I think about the people who have come through this year, about how we can do it right from the start." That morning, he had approved 3 new managers, with the same profit-sharing scheme as he. Nobody builds this and gets ripped off. The phone rang. Graham Tulliver. "Congratulations, partner." "I know." Noah smiled. "Thanks for believing." Graham replied, "Not in the company. In you. The company behind it is just riding on that belief." Noah looked at the frame Elena had given him for Christmas last year. The best revenge is massive success. He turned the frame face down. We don't get revenge with success. We get back what's right. Respect, justice, compassion. He opened his calendar and booked a coffee date with Marcus Everly for the following week. Not to preach, not to rehash the past. Sometimes the last step to moving on is to gently let go of a stone. Fate. Love and sacrifice, the unwritten minutes. That night, Noah drove Elena to school to hear her son perform. The small auditorium was filled with white lights, folding chairs, and the smell of fresh paint. When his son walked out, clutching the harmonica, Noah could feel his heartbeat match his breathing. The piece began, the first notes trembling slightly, then growing steady. When he reached the difficult part of the slide, he did it, and the audience applauded. Noah thought back to countless missed dinners, Dad on Zoom for a bit, birthdays, Elena holding the house like a silent station in the storm. If there was one thing to sacrifice properly, it wasn't bedtime or weekends, but the self who wanted to win alone. The best sacrifice was to put the common victory first, so that the people with you wouldn't become shadows. On the way home, they passed the riverbank. The wind was dark and smelled of cold water. Elena leaned her head against the glass door and whispered, "I feel lighter this year." Noah held her hand. "I learned one thing. There are two kinds of hunger. One is hunger for quotas. The other is hunger for responsibilities. The second kind sustains people longer." Back home, before going in, Noah stopped to look at the maple tree in the yard. This season, the branches were bare, but tiny sleeping buds were already there, waiting to warm. He thought of Sophie, Nora, the young people on the team. Sleeping buds, waiting for the opportunity to sprout. His job is no longer to bring in millions, but to keep the buds warm so they can bloom at the right time. 9. Another sheet. On Monday morning, Noah sat in front of the glass door of his new office. His secretary knocked on the door and handed him an envelope. Marcus Everly, in blue ink. "Thank you for agreeing to meet. I brought something I didn't have before. Listening." Noah put down the letter, turned on his computer, and opened the People First P&L plan file, the outline he'd written for K&H, a P&L that didn't just have profit and loss, but had people at the top. On the first page, he wrote, "Numbers are how we respect our clients. Compassion is how we respect our people." A year ago, he'd left Aurora with just a cardboard box. Today, on his desk, was a thick stack of files, not of clients, but of the people he was responsible for supporting. Every minute in the company, he understood, had blank spaces, an engineer's sleepless night, an account manager's timely apology, a cup of coffee someone left outside a conference room door after a colleague had a rough night. These things didn't count toward KPIs, but they kept the company afloat. Noah stood up and walked down the hallway. New photo frames hung on the walls, the customer service team receiving thank you notes, the deployment department finishing a project ahead of schedule, Sophie cutting her first-year cake. He touched the frame lightly, the glass feeling cold, then warmed by the heat of his hand. X. The final bell. On the day of the coffee date, Marcus Everly arrived early. The man in front of him looked sleepless. He put down his cup without beating around the bush. "I let Caleb put the wrong map on the table, and I didn't ask anyone who had been on that road." Noah was silent. Marcus continued, "I want to hear from you. How do we avoid it?" Noah pushed the People First P&L toward Marcus. "Start with questions, then how to pay, then train young people so they don't have to carry it alone." Marcus nodded, his eyes red. "Thank you." He hesitated. "Can you forgive?" Noah looked out the window, where the river was as still as a sheet of metal. "Forgiveness is not a signature. It's a series of actions. Do it." When they parted, Marcus stood for a moment at the door, then turned and said, "Thank you for being there." Noah nodded. The word "being there" sounded normal, but heavy. That afternoon, Noah returned to the office just in time for his son to send a text. "Dad, the teacher praised me. I played the difficult part. Let's practice again tonight," Noah replied with a photo of his hand resting on the maple tree in the front yard. eyes still half asleep. "Let's play together tonight." He turned off the screen, tidied up the papers. The old swivel chair at Aurora had kept him in endless rotation. The new chair at K&H was unlocked, so that when needed, he could stand up and walk through the door, be with the people he loved, be with the people he led, be with the customers who trusted him. A year, beautiful numbers. But under the numbers are people, and above the people is compassion, something that cannot be measured, but nourishes everything. A small epilogue for the reader, and for Noah himself. If one day someone slips a thin piece of paper in front of you, don't just look at the stamp. Look at the hand that holds the paper. Has that hand ever lifted someone up, or just pushed someone away? Then look at your hand. Have you lifted or pushed? Noah left that cold conference room not with anger. He brought with him a promise, written not with ink, but with presence. And that promise, through curiosity, touching, and anchored in emotion, turned a man who seemed to have nothing into a keeper of the fire for many others.
If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts on this story in the comments. To hear the next story, click the box on the left.